Guess what, everybody? I'm back doing movie reviews by myself. And pretty good way to start because this was a surprisingly good sequel. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another movie review. Yes, like I said in the intro, I'm back doing movie reviews. It's been a while. I mean, other than, of course, the Your Cousins Are Critics, episodes. But, yeah, I'm back doing movie reviews. I don't know how often I'm going to do them, but if I feel like I have a lot to say about a certain movie, that's when I'll do a review. And it won't just be new releases. All of this is a new release, but it won't just be new releases. Like I got the Lord of the Rings trilogy planned pretty soon after this. So, yeah. But today I will be reviewing a new release, and that will be, of course, Beetlejuice. Yeah. Sorry if you can't see the poster real good. My quality is not great. If you're no stranger to my channel, you should be used to that by now. But yeah. But yeah, Beetlejuice, the sequel, the long-awaited sequel to, of course, 30 odd years later, to the 1988 film Beetlejuice, which was, of course, directed by Tim Burton, and so is this movie as well. So yeah, this was directed again by Tim Burton, and has a pretty all-star cast. We got three returning: Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara, as well as newcomers such as, well, I say newcomers, I mean newcomers to the Beetlejuice, world. That is Jenna Ortega, Justin Theroux, Willem Dafoe, and hopefully I'll say her name right, Monica Bellucci, maybe? Yeah. But, yeah. And I should also mention, returning on the score, Danny Elfman, the one and only Danny Elfman. So, yeah. Alright, so let me go ahead and say first, I was both excited but also nervous going into this movie. I mean, when I first heard... Okay, so I first heard that Tim Burton was doing a Beetlejuice sequel. I was like, ugh. And then I heard that Michael Keaton's coming back, and at first I was like, well, I mean, good, but I'm still not sure. Then I heard that Winona Ryder was coming back. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I found out that Danny Elfman was coming back doing the score, as well as Catherine O'Hara as well. It's kind of like that Mr. McMahon meme, if you know what I'm talking about, with him going like, and then, it's like that. That's pretty much how I was. And then I'm like, okay, this has potential. And also I heard that Jenna Ortega was going to be Lydia's daughter. I'm like, that's pretty cool too. So, and I did saw the trailer for it. I reacted it on the channel a few months back. Check that out if you haven't already. But, judging by the trailer, I had hope. I was like, and that, the four originals were coming back as well as Catherine O'Hara. And I was like, and I saw the trailer. I'm like, okay, this could be good. I was still a little nervous going into it, but I had high hopes though. I did have high hopes, and I'll go ahead and say I kind of already said in the intro, but this was actually a good sequel. Surprisingly, a good sequel. Yeah, I I'm so happy that it was as good as it was. It could have been better, but it was still really good, I thought. And it wasn't as nostalgia baity as I thought it was going to be. Of course, there's some nostalgia. There's nostalgia thrown in there, of course. However, they did do what I wanted them to do, was focus on the story more. And I will say that the story wasn't as good, and neither is the film itself, as good as the original Beetlejuice. Of course not. And not even the story. No. The story, I thought was pretty good. There was some stuff I kind of feel like they could have done better. But overall, I did enjoy the story, and I definitely enjoyed the movie. So before I get into stuff I liked and whatnot about it, I'll try my best to go through the plot the best I can. So this movie is about 30 odd or so years later. Lydia, played by Winona Ryder, of course, is all grown up, and she's even famous. She's famous because she is one of those famous people that has claimed to see ghosts and talks to ghosts, kind of like that one dude. What was his name? If you've seen that South Park episode with that guy as the biggest douche in the universe, yeah. If you've seen that episode, you know who I'm talking about. I forgot his name. I keep wanting to say David Blaine, but no, that's a different guy in a different episode. But, yeah, whatever that guy's name was. But anyways, but she is one of those people, but she's not bullshitting like the other guy probably is. She has seen ghosts, as you have seen in the first movie. And she was even friends with two of those ghosts, but also a certain individual haunted her. And that is, of course, Beetlejuice. But yeah, she's famous. She has a show where she talks to ghosts and stuff. However, she is haunted by Beetlejuice again. She sees him in her normal day life, just out of nowhere, kind of like how in Harry Potter, Harry a couple times saw Voldemort in his day-to-day life. Kind of like that. And she's kind of like PTSD, you know? And she has a daughter, I think Astrid was her name, and she's played by Jenna Ortega, who is not a big fan of her mom, and she thinks that she is bullshitting. She doesn't believe that her mom saw a ghost. And then she gets a phone call from her stepmom, played by Catherine O'Hara. I forgot her name, the character's name, but she gets a phone call, goes up there, and she tells her that her father has passed away. And then originally in the original movie, he was played by Jeffrey Jones. They did actually do something with him in this movie. They couldn't bring Jeffrey Jones back because he is a piece of shit person. So they had to kill his character off, and which I saw in the trailer that they did. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. But they do something even more interesting with this character, which I will reveal. Okay, so I'll go ahead and say right off the bat, this is a spoilers review. So, yeah. So if you don't want to be spoiled, not right now, but I will spoil some stuff. But yeah. Anyways, her dad got killed by a shark. I think, yeah, that's what it was. And so they're kind of, especially Catherine O'Hara, she's grieving with that, and Lydia kind of is too, but more so Catherine O'Hara. And what else happens? Oh yeah, Jenna Ortega Astrid meets this boy who, come to find out, I'll say one thing. I won't say a certain thing just yet, but I mean, we don't know yet, but when we first meet him, but he is also a ghost. And I actually predicted that right whenever I saw him. That was a pretty good cliche. Now they did have a twist with him that I didn't expect, but I did expect that he was a ghost. I'm like, once I first saw him, I was like, oh yeah, he's dead, because she didn't believe it, and then she meets this boy who she falls in love with, and he's a ghost. Makes perfect sense, So yeah, and they also have a thing with Monica Bellucci or whatever her name is, where her character was actually I think Beetlejuice's wife back whenever he was alive, and I can't remember what exactly happened, but something happened with her, and then she comes back as a ghost, and it kind of looks like she's going to be the villain of this movie. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, but that's the basics, I think, without spoilers right now. I kind of spoiled about the ghost thing with, that the boyfriend, but that's kind of expected. I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, but it kind of is, but but yeah. But that's the basics there. So yeah, that's the story pretty much. So, all right before I jump into the spoilers, I will talk about some stuff which I will have to spoil. Excuse me, I will have to spoil some stuff, but just talk about what I liked about it right now. So, okay. So this movie, yeah, like I said, it surprised me of how good it was. All right, let me say first the performances, all pretty well, all good. Some better than others, but let's start with Winona Ryder as Lydia. She was very good, very good. I will admit that she was better in the first movie, but still good. Just she's grown up, of course. I honestly never seen a bad performance by Winona Ryder, even in Alien Resurrection, which not a good movie, but she was good in that movie. So her and Sigourney Weaver were like the only good things about that movie. So yeah, great actress. I love Winona Ryder. I've been a fan of her and had a crush on her ever since I saw Heathers. So yeah, great actress, and she's great. She's really good in this movie. Again, not as good but as in the first, but still very good. Catherine O'Hara, hilarious. She was really funny in this movie. I didn't think she was all that funny in the first movie. She had some few laughs. I kind of thought Jeffrey Jones's character was funnier than her, but she was hilarious in this movie. She was one of the funniest parts of the film. So she was great. Jenna Ortega was pretty good for the most part. I thought the character was kind of could have been better, but with what she got, she was pretty good. I think the only other thing I ever seen her in was Babysitter 2, which I thought she was pretty good in that movie. I kind of liked her better in that one, but she kind of played a more interesting character in that movie than she did in this one. But with the material that she got, she was pretty good. So yeah, I thought that the guy who played the boyfriend, her ghost boyfriend, was pretty good. Let me see who that actor is real quick. Let me check. Arthur Conti, I guess. He was good. Justin Theroux was also good. Okay, I forgot to mention Justin Theroux's character. He is Lydia's boyfriend, and then he proposes to her, then becomes fiance. He was good. I liked him. I liked him in Mulholland Drive, David Lynch, of course. But I liked him in that better. But yeah, Willem Dafoe, awesome as always and hilarious. I thought his character was really funny. He was like he was a dead character, but he was also like an action movie star. I think his character maybe died from like a freak accident. I'm thinking. I can't remember for sure, but because on his head it was kind of like burnt and like you could see like his skull and brains and stuff. But he was great. He was really funny. One of the funniest characters. One of the show stealers, even though didn't do too much, but in terms of performance, he was great. It's Willem fucking Dafoe, one of my favorite actors of all time. So of course, he was great. Let's see who else. Okay, and then of course, Michael Keaton. So Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, great. As the first movie, great. However, I do kind of have a nitpick with the character of Beetlejuice. I will say that he was shown, I think, a bit more in this movie than he was in the original. Oh, I forgot to mention Monica, whatever. She was not bad. But there is an issue I have with the character. We'll get to later. But Beetlejuice was still really good and really funny. And Michael Keaton, as always, just like Winona Ryder, I'd never seen a bad Michael Keaton performance like Winona and Willem Dafoe. Those three right there are some of my favorite actors. So, Michael Keaton, phenomenal as always. However, one nitpick I will say, now I do understand why. But they did, however, turn down his horniness, because if you've seen the first movie, he's a perv. Beetlejuice was a pervert. And I will say that's kind of one of the things that didn't exactly age well going back. But however, it doesn't bother me that much when I watch the original Beetlejuice. I just think he's funny, and even his perverted stuff is kind of funny too. Yeah, it didn't really age well, but it doesn't bother me. He's just a funny character, you know. So they did tone that down for this movie, which is expected because of the day and age that we live in. People probably thought that he was a predator or something. Okay, maybe not predator, but well, actually, maybe even a predator because he tried to marry in the first movie a underage Lydia. So maybe that too, actually. I don't know. But he was a perv, though, for sure. They toned that stuff back for this movie, but I gotta say, it still didn't bother me. Like, not too much. I mean, it's just that he just wasn't as funny as he was in the first movie. And part of that was because of how horny he was, but he was still great, though. He was still really good. Michael Keaton was phenomenal, as always. It's just that, you know, they did kind of tune that down a little bit. You know, he wasn't really much of one in this one of a pervert. But still, other than that, he was still phenomenal. And Beetlejuice, the character, was still very good and really funny. Like I said, I think he's in this a little more than he was in the first movie. Now, I guess the protagonist is probably like Winona Ryder, Lydia, and also Astrid, Jenna Ortega. I think they're like they are the protagonists in this movie. While in the first movie, it was Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's characters, which I'll get into. And this is kind of a spoiler, I guess, maybe, but they did explain what they're not in this movie, unfortunately. It's kind of sad, but because of the shit with Alec Baldwin going on right now, they couldn't, and I guess they couldn't bring back Gina Davis either, just because of that. I kind of wish at least she had a cameo, but no. But they did explain. They did explain what happened to them. Like, Lydia did tell Astrid that I think they moved on. They went to like another like dimension or something like that. Like like something like that. Like they moved on and now they're not in the world. That's pretty good. I'm glad that they explained what happened to them, because I'm sure if they didn't, fans would be outraged. So I'm glad they explained something with them. That was good. Um okay, so okay, hold on. I'm still not done about this stuff. But the performances were all great. Yes. Tim Burton's direction is very good. I think he did a great job with this movie. Some people are saying, some people say that he lost his touch after maybe Sweeney Todd, which I gotta be honest, I'm not a fan of that movie. That's one of my least favorite Tim Burton movies is Sweeney Todd. I'm not a musical fan, and while that is not a terrible movie, but I there's too much musical numbers for me to handle on that movie, so yeah. Not a fan of that movie. But anyways, but no, I still think that I still think that he's a good director. Sure, his later stuff isn't as good as his older stuff. I admit that. However, his last movie before this was Dumbo, and I actually kind of liked it. I will rewatch it again soon because I am currently working on a updated Tim Burton ranking, and I'm going back and revisiting his films. The last one I watched was Ed Wood. I'm going to watch again Sleepy Hollow soon. So look out for an updated Tim Burton ranking sometime soon. But anyways, but no, I thought Dumbo was actually decent, and I loved Miss Peregrine's Home for Particular Children. Now, it is a flawed movie, yes, for sure, but I still loved it. I still loved the world and the characters. The story I thought was good too, and it worked for me. I even rewatched it, and I think it kind of went down just a tiny bit, but I still love it though. I still think it's an underrated movie, not an underrated masterpiece because it is flawed, but an underrated movie. I think it's one of Tim Burton's most underrated movies. So yeah. So I haven't gave up hope on. Oh, also Big Eyes was pretty good too. That was a kind of more recent one in the last few years. I think that one's like now 10 years old, but Big Eyes was pretty good too. But no, I haven't gave up hope on Tim Burton, especially after watching this movie, because I have to say he's back. I mean, I don't think he's ever lost it, but if someone was to say that he's back, I would definitely agree. So yeah, his direction was great, phenomenal. I mean, not as phenomenal as the original Beetlejuice, and of course, some of his other classics like, Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which is my personal favorite, by the way, and the Batman movies. No, of course not. But it's still very good. Still very good, and his direction, and yeah. The look of the movie, I think it looks great. I mean, of course, it looks different from the original, but that's expected because his style, his directing style, and like camera work and whatnot, and color palette, of course, has changed since 1988. So it doesn't look exactly like the original Beetlejuice, but. And I think there's still some practical effects, but also some CG as well. But I still think it works. Like, they brought back, of course, the sandworm. And I think it's CG, but it still looked like the style. It still had the same style as it did in the first movie. It still looked like it, just not practical. Because I think that might have been like stop motion, I think. But I think it was CG, but it still looked really good. And also, they brought back the little guy, if in the first movie, the little guy with the small head, They brought him back. There's actually like a whole group of them and that's like Beetlejuice's henchmen, his minions, if you will. And he named one of them Bob, who was like his right hand man. But I think they were probably CG too, but they look great, and they still looks like that original guy from the first movie. So that was cool. The desert and the sandworm, where the sandworm was, it did look a little bit more like the new Dune movies, but it was cool. It was still cool to see that. So yeah, I liked the effects of this movie, as well as the color palettes and whatnot. It looks great. Music was pretty good too. I mean, of course, Danny Elfman's back. His score's phenomenal as always. And some of the song choices were pretty cool. I forgot what all they had, but I know they had the song MacArthur Park by what's his name, Richard Harris. Which, by the way, is that the actor? Is that the same guy as the actor Richard Harris? Let me know down in the comments, because I that's the only Richard Harris I know, is the actor who originally played Dumbledore in the first two Harry Potter movies. But let me know if that's the same guy. I could look it up, but and maybe I will. I don't know. But yeah, they had that song like toward the end of the movie, which was kind of a scene that went on for a little bit too long, but it was still pretty cool, and it was kind of funny too. But yeah, and some of the other music stuff too was pretty good. And also, of course, the production design was great as well. Yeah, all that stuff, very good. I really enjoyed it. Now, there are some issues in terms of story. It's kind of confusing, but also, I will say, it's not just the movie's fault. When I rewatch it, I'll see what I think about it then. But I didn't have like an amazing experience. So watching this movie. So let me say, I watched this in a movie theater with a good friend of mine. Shout out to Andy, who is also the lead singer of my band right now. I watched this with him and his kids and a friend of his as well. And the kids, he has 3 kids. One of them is a teenager, his oldest, but also he has like a maybe 10 and 8-year-old or something like that. And them two especially, they were kind of loud at times, and but I like them anyways. They were funny. The girl was really making me laugh at certain moments, his daughter, but and his teenage son's kind of one of my friends too, and we were kind of he was sitting right next to me, and we were just kind of bullshitting, whenever that Monica chick went on screen, I was just bullshitting with him because he's a teenager, and I'm like, calm down. Yeah, no. And also there was a kid too that was there, behind us, that was kind of loud too. So in terms of like theater experience, which wasn't terrible, but it did kind of take away a little bit of my attention to the movie. But so I don't think I caught everything in the story. So, on rewatch, I definitely will. I will definitely watch this. Next time I watch this, I'll watch it by myself, and I'll see, I'll see stuff that I missed, and, if it worked or not. But the stuff that I did catch, some of it wasn't great and a little bit confusing in the story. So yeah, and a big thing, I think the biggest thing people didn't like about the story was Monica Bellucci, I guess. Her character, which by the way, I actually found out today too, that she is actually Tim Burton's girlfriend right now. So I I'm kind of familiar with that actress, sort of. I've seen her at least, and she's pretty good looking. That's beside the point. But um, her character was supposed to be like this sexy, like dead woman stuff. That was who I was bullshitting with Andy's son. But yeah, but her character, she wasn't a great character. She was probably the worst character in the movie because, like I said, they were doing something with her. They kind of made it look like originally that she was going to be the villain of the movie, like the main villain. But Beetlejuice did have a scene. Okay, so this is spoilers now. Beetlejuice did have a scene where he was explaining, and it was actually a pretty funny scene because for some reason he was doing it in Spanish. I don't know why that, but that was pretty good humor right there. But he was explaining like stuff. I didn't catch all of it, but it was stuff with his girlfriend, or she was his wife, I think, or something. Something happened. Maybe he accidentally killed her or something. I can't remember exactly what happened. And whenever it was showing her, originally, they were originally going to, it looked like she was going to be the villain of the movie, but not exactly. Like she came into the climax, and it was actually a scene in the movie where Beetlejuice was going to get married to Lydia again, and she came in. That was whenever they had the MacArthur Parks song too, but in that scene. But I think it was after the song, she came in and was like, didn't do shit, and apparently, so Justin Theroux, his character, who, like I said, was Lydia's fiance, he was there because I think originally that was supposed to be their wedding, but then Beetlejuice showed up, was like, nope, this is our wedding. So. And that scene was a little bit similar to the scene in the original movie too, but with some different stuff too. But I liked the scene, although the MacArthur part was it went on for a little too long. But anyways, Monica shows up, and she apparently there was something like with Justin Thorough's character. Beetlejuice gave him some truth serum, so he spilled the beans and told Lydia that he's basically a gold digger and was just marrying her because she was a rich and famous person. That's why he didn't give a shit about her. So yeah, I think he was like her manager too or something like that. And they were having a relationship, but not really. And there's like a thing with, apparently he was in love with Monica's character, which I didn't understand that. That was kind of weird. I didn't get that entirely. So yeah, that was odd. So stuff like that. I just had to go back and rewatch. But okay, so another thing I'm going to spoil. There's actually like two other things. Maybe, a few if I can remember them all. But the boyfriend, Astrid's boyfriend, who was, like I said, was a ghost. And apparently he died in the 90s because there was a cool scene where she goes in his room and there's like 90s band posters on the wall, Nirvana, Pixies. There was even a Daniel Johnston poster, which I was so happy because I'm a huge Daniel Johnston fan. And even though he's dead, which is sad, of course, but at least he's actually getting some recognition of, people are starting to discover who he is now, which is amazing because he's an amazing artist. Check his music out if you haven't already. He's one of my all-time heroes. I love Daniel Johnston. So it was awesome seeing a Daniel Johnston poster on the wall. And she was like going through like his record collection. I saw the first Black Sabbath album in there, and also Mellow Gold by Beck, which is one of my favorite albums. So that was pretty cool because I'm a huge music nerd. So it's cool to see all that, especially 90s music too. I like a lot of that stuff as well. But anyways, okay, so sorry about that, but I just wanted to say that stuff. That was really cool seeing that. And Daniel Johnston being recognized in a Tim Burton movie. That's so cool. Anyways, so yeah, so that kid, he died in the 90s. But they added a twist with him. You know, he's dead. We already knew that. However, he killed his parents. Yeah, he killed his parents. And I don't know exactly what happened to them because we didn't get to see them in the movie. But anyways, I forgot exactly what happened to him at the end. I know that like he tried to like want to get there was like a thing where he could get his life back and be alive again, but he like tricked Lydia and like was trading his dead life with hers. I forgot what happens at the end. With him. I can't remember. For the life of me, I can't remember what happened to him. So, you know, that was a cool twist that I didn't see coming with him killing his parents. Like, that was pretty crazy. But I can't remember exactly what happened to him at the end, so maybe that could have been a flaw too. I don't know. Or it could just be my attention span. But, yeah. But they did do a cool thing with the dad. Lydia's dad. Jeffrey Jones's, you know, in the original, his character. So, like I said, you know, he died. He got bitten by a shark. I like took his head off. And also, what was really cool is that they showed whenever Lydia was, Catherine O'Hara's character was talking to Lydia about what happened to him. They were actually showing a flashback, but in animation, which was really cool. It was probably CG, but it was like in the style of like almost stop motion. So that's really cool. And the character still looks like Jeffrey Jones, but it wasn't Jeffrey Jones, you know. But of course, you know, his face is in this movie, but he isn't in the movie, so that's okay, you know. That's fine. But yeah, they're showing the animation backstory. That was a really cool scene. And then like later in the movie, it was kept showing this guy walking around with no head. It looked like his head was chopped off, like bitten off. I didn't put it together just yet until Andy like whispered to me. He's like, I figured out who that was. I'm like, what's that? He's like, that's the dad. I'm like, oh my god. So that was really cool. He was like going around and he was even talking, but it was like coming through like his spine or something because he didn't have a head. And it wasn't Jeffrey Jones, of course, the voice. I don't know who the voice was, but that was pretty cool. That he was still in the movie, and he even got to see Lydia, I think, and his wife, Catherine O'Hara's character, and she got to, you know, reunite with him. Okay, there was another thing which I didn't love, honestly, but Catherine O'Hara, spoilers, her character dies too. She got bitten by these snakes, and I guess they were poisonous. So that's what happened to her. But by the end, she does end up with, I think Charles was his name. I can't remember her name, but Charles was his name. And she ends up with Charles again. And that was nice. I liked that. And also, they also show Astrid's dad, you know, Jenna Ortega. I don't know who the actor was, but they show his dad in the afterlife. He was like one of the guys, I think, running like some stuff. Or whatever. He had a job in the afterlife, and I guess he got eaten by piranhas or something, something like that, because he had piranhas on him. So yeah, he comes back, and it's a pretty cool thing with him too. We didn't really, I mean, of course, we didn't know anything about him, but yeah, Astrid's dad, Lydia's ex-husband, I guess. So that was cool. That I liked that too, and I liked Charles, his input in the movie. It was just like, while the twist of Astrid's boyfriend was cool, but I can't remember for the life of me what happened to him afterwards. So there's that, and also Monica's thing. So, you know, some twists that worked and some twists that didn't and whatnot. You know, stuff like that. So, you know, the story, not amazing, but it still has some really good stuff, is my point. Like, some really good stuff. So, yeah, and like I said, the humor's great. There was one scene in particular that really made me laugh where the bullworm comes back, you know, in the wedding, kind of like in the first movie. But the bullworm comes back, and then, like, Beetlejuice is, like, acting like he's a bullfighter. I think that was the thing that made me laugh the most in the movie, was that part. And what was funny, the thing that made me laugh most in the first movie was also in the wedding scene. It was actually whenever Alec Baldwin's teeth came out, and, like, it was still saying Beetlejuice, so he was, like, kind of, like, tap dancing or something with the teeth. That was the funniest thing in the first movie for me, was that. And then funniest thing in the second movie was the bullworm fight. So it's just kind of funny that both stuff that made me laugh the most was in both wedding scenes. But yeah, but anyways, but overall, a good movie. You know, a little flawed, but I mean, that's expected, you know, when you make a movie. Like, honestly, the only two movies that I consider perfect from Tim Burton are Ed Wood and Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Those, I think, are great and, like, pretty much masterpieces, honestly. Like, even other good movies, like the original Beetlejuice wasn't, you know, in terms of story, wasn't great, and neither was Edward Scissorhands, but they're both good movies, you know. So it's just that a little story-wise, they're a little flawed, but you know, that's expected for most movies, you know. Like, even the next movies I'm going to be reviewing, The Lord of the Rings, I thought they were a little bit flawed too. So, and people consider them to be masterpieces, but more on that later when I review those movies. But, you know, still, you know, it's a flawed movie, but it's still a good movie and a good sequel. And yeah, it was worth it, because this has been teased ever since the first Beetlejuice came out. Like, even in the 90s, they were trying to make a Beetlejuice sequel. There was one idea called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, and Kevin Smith was actually offered to write that script, but he chose to do Superman Lives instead, but that didn't even get made, the one with Nicolas Cage. And actually Tim Burton was going to direct that too, but it didn't happen. But anyways, but, you know, still, this has been in production hell for years, pretty much, a Beetlejuice sequel in general. You know, and of course there was the animated series in, I think, the 90s, but that was like the closest thing before this. That was the closest thing to Beetlejuice, you know, continuations that we got, was that with the animated series. And I saw a couple episodes of it, and it's pretty good. But you know, it took a while, but we finally got a Beetlejuice sequel, and yeah, I wasn't disappointed. I enjoyed it. First one's better, and I do like the first better, but still a good movie. Still a good movie. Beetlejuice was surprisingly really good. I'm sorry that this video's long. We're almost close to 50 minutes, but I'm almost done. So, but overall thoughts, a very good sequel. Maybe, you know, we'll see how I feel about it on rewatch, but as a first watch, it was great. It was really good. And like I said, I haven't given up hope on Tim Burton. I still think he's a good director. It's just that some of his later films aren't as good as the originals, and some of them are not even that good. Like, I didn't like Dark Shadows, and Planet of the Apes, and even Sweeney Todd, like I said, which some might get pissed at me for that. But I think all the other movies besides '03 I do enjoy. So yeah, I love Tim Burton. Always will. He'll always be one of my favorite directors. And yeah, and this proves that he still has it. I don't think he's ever really lost it. It's just that he had some misses, but he never lost it. Like, even those movies, I think they're still pretty well made. It's just, yeah, he's still a great director. I don't think he'll ever lose it. He's one of my all-time favorites, and this movie proves it. Very good sequel after 30 years from the first movie, surprisingly. And I recommend it, even though I spoiled some stuff. But if you don't care about spoilers, that's cool. Just check it out. But yeah, very good movie overall. Highly recommend it. And I'm going to give Beetlejuice an 8 out of 10. Yes, 8 out of 10. Very good. Really liked it. Yes. All right, there we go. There is my review for Beetlejuice. Yes. So, all right. In the comments, tell me, have you seen the movie? I'm hoping you have, because I did spoil. Have you seen it? Are you going to? What were your thoughts if you have seen it? Let me know all that stuff. Also, what is your favorite Tim Burton movie? I already said it. Mine is Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Actually, real quick, they did actually have a little shout out, I think, to Pee-wee's Big Adventure, because there was, maybe, but there was a face that Beetlejuice made, and I think it's in memes maybe now too, but it reminded me of Large Marge, and I want to say that's probably a reference to Pee-wee. It's probably because Paul Reubens just passed away, like, last year, I think. So that might be it. That's probably just a shout out to that movie and you know, dedicated to Paul Reubens. So that's awesome. I'm glad they did that. So yeah. Anyways, but yeah, Pee-wee's my favorite. What's your favorite Tim Burton movie? Let me know down in the comments. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you made this far, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the bell. And I'll see you guys later. Maybe it's either going to be the Lord of the Rings review, or it will be my catch-up video for the ranking for the first time watch July movies. Wait, no, August. I already did July. August, yeah. Anyways, yeah. Anyways, either way, I'll see you guys later. Peace.